Hello friends, and welcome back to Soil Secrets Studio. Today we're embarking on something truly transformative for your garden, a journey into the world of living soil that doesn't require fancy equipment or expensive inputs. We're creating a DIY soil biostimulant using three humble ingredients: molasses, yeast, and millet. This isn't just another garden hack. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about feeding our plants. Instead of pouring synthetic fertilizers onto lifeless dirt, we're cultivating a thriving underground civilization of microorganisms that will work tirelessly to build fertility, cycle nutrients, and create what I like to call forever soil, a self-sustaining ecosystem that only gets better with time. Before we get our hands dirty, let's understand why this matters so profoundly. Conventional gardening practices have conditioned us to think of plants as passive recipients of our chemical interventions. We add nitrogen here, phosphorus there, and wonder why our soil becomes increasingly dependent on these inputs year after year. The truth is that healthy soil is absolutely teeming with life. Billions of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and other microorganisms per teaspoon. These microscopic workers form symbiotic relationships with plant roots, breaking down organic matter, fixing atmospheric nitrogen, solubilizing minerals, and even defending against pathogens. When we flood our gardens with harsh chemicals, we're essentially carpet bombing this intricate community, destroying the very foundation of natural fertility. The biostimulant we're creating today works differently. Rather than replacing these microbes or feeding plants directly, we're providing the precise conditions and nutrition that beneficial organisms need to multiply exponentially. Think of it as brewing a living fertilizer, one that doesn't just feed your plants once, but continues working season after season, building soil structure, increasing water retention, and creating that rich, dark humus that characterizes truly healthy earth. Each component in our biostimulant plays a specific and irreplaceable role in this microbial symphony. Unsulfured blackstrap molasses serves as the primary energy source, rich in simple sugars that microorganisms can rapidly metabolize. It also provides essential trace minerals like iron, calcium, and magnesium that both plants and microbes require. The unsulfured aspect is absolutely critical here. Sulfur compounds are antimicrobial by nature and will kill the very organisms we're trying to cultivate. Millet brings complex carbohydrates and starches to the party. While molasses provides quick energy, millet's more intricate molecular structures take longer to break down, sustaining microbial populations over extended periods. This creates a succession of different microbial species, each specializing in decomposing particular compounds. The result is a diverse community rather than a monoculture. If millet isn't available in your area, rice, wheat bran, or other whole grains can substitute effectively, though each will create slightly different microbial profiles. Yeast is our starter culture, the match that lights this biological fire. Active dry yeast contains billions of single-celled fungi that begin fermenting immediately upon activation. They produce enzymes, B vitamins, and metabolic byproducts that not only benefit plants directly, but also create favorable conditions for indigenous soil microorganisms to flourish. When you apply this biostimulant to your garden, you're not just adding the yeast itself, but introducing compounds that wake up dormant native microbial populations already present in your soil. Creating this biostimulant requires patience and attention to detail, but the process is wonderfully forgiving once you understand the principles. Start by preparing your millet. Cooking it into a porridge-like consistency breaks down the grain's structure, making its starches accessible to microorganisms. Allow it to cool completely before proceeding. Excessive heat will kill the yeast we're about to add. In a separate container, activate your yeast by dissolving a tablespoon in warm, unchlorinated water with a teaspoon of molasses. The water temperature matters here. Too cold and the yeast remains dormant. Too hot and you'll kill it. Aim for bath water temperature around 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Within 10 minutes you should see vigorous bubbling and a foam cap forming. This tells you the yeast is alive and ready to work. Now combine your cooled millet, the remaining molasses, and your activated yeast solution in your fermentation vessel. Add unchlorinated water gradually while mixing thoroughly. The consistency you're aiming for, well, it should resemble wet soil, moist enough to clump when squeezed, but not so wet that water drips freely. This moisture level is crucial. Too dry and fermentation stalls, but too wet, and you risk anaerobic conditions that produce foul-smelling compounds rather than beneficial ones. Pack the mixture firmly into your container, making sure to eliminate any air pockets, as these can harbor undesirable microorganisms. Leave about 4 inches of headspace at the top because the mixture will expand during fermentation. Seal it with an airtight lid. If you're using a simple bucket without an airlock, you'll need to burp it daily for the first week by briefly opening the lid to release carbon dioxide buildup. An airlock borrowed from beer brewing equipment eliminates this step and produces more consistent results. Store your container in a cool, dark location away from temperature extremes. A basement closet or shaded outdoor area works perfectly. Over the next several days, fermentation accelerates. You'll notice warmth emanating from the container as microbial metabolism generates heat. This is exactly what we want, evidence of billions of organisms multiplying and transforming our raw ingredients into something far more valuable. The aroma developing inside your container tells the story of successful fermentation. Initially, you'll detect the sweetness of molasses and the yeasty smell of rising bread. As days pass, this evolves into something more complex, slightly alcoholic, perhaps vinegary, with earthy undertones. A pleasant, tangy sweetness indicates success. If at any point you encounter a putrid, rotten smell, something has gone wrong. Pathogenic bacteria have taken over, and the batch should be discarded and started fresh. This rarely happens if you followed proper procedure, but it's worth mentioning. Allow at least 2 to 3 weeks for complete fermentation. In cooler conditions, extend this to 4 weeks. The finished product will have settled somewhat, with liquid accumulating at the bottom and a denser mass on top. Both fractions contain valuable microorganisms and metabolites. When ready to use, mix thoroughly to create a uniform consistency. This concentrated biostimulant is far too potent for direct application. Dilute it at a ratio of 1 part biostimulant to 10 parts unchlorinated water for general soil drenching. For seedlings or transplants, increase dilution to 1 part biostimulant to 20 parts water. Remember that chlorinated tap water defeats the entire purpose by killing the microorganisms you've worked to cultivate. Use rainwater, spring water, or tap water that sat uncovered for 24 hours to allow chlorine to dissipate. Apply this living solution as a soil drench around the root zones of your plants every 2 to 3 weeks during active growth periods. Early morning or evening applications work best, avoiding the heat of midday, which can stress both microbes and plants. Pour slowly, allowing the solution to penetrate deeply rather than running off. You're inoculating your soil with billions of beneficial organisms that will immediately begin colonizing root surfaces and surrounding soil particles. Within weeks of regular application, you'll observe remarkable changes. Plants develop more robust root systems, and that's really evident in their increased vigor and resilience. Soil structure, improves as microbial byproducts bind particles into stable aggregates. Water infiltration and retention increase dramatically as this improved structure creates spaces for both air and moisture. Perhaps most significantly, you'll notice reduced pest and disease pressure as beneficial microbes outcompete pathogens and stimulate plants' natural defense mechanisms. This biostimulant represents just one tool in building truly sustainable soil fertility. Combine it with regular mulching to feed soil organisms continuously, practice no-till methods to preserve fungal networks and soil structure, and add compost to introduce diverse organic matter. These practices work synergistically, each reinforcing the others to create soil that becomes more fertile every year, rather than depleting with each harvest. The beauty of this approach is its self-perpetuating nature. As microbial populations establish themselves, they create conditions favorable for their own continued growth. Fungal hyphae extend through your soil like underground highways, connecting plants in mutually beneficial networks. Bacterial colonies cluster around roots trading nutrients for plant sugars. This underground economy operates continuously, transforming your garden into a living system that requires decreasing intervention over time. Now it's your turn to experience this transformation firsthand. Mix up a batch of this biostimulant, apply it consistently, and observe the changes in your garden. If this guide has inspired you to rethink your relationship with soil, please subscribe to Soil Secrets Studio for more natural gardening wisdom. Share this video with fellow gardeners who are ready to break free from chemical dependence and build truly living soil. Leave a comment below sharing your experiences. I read every one and learn from your insights. Together, we're cultivating not just better gardens, but a deeper understanding of the living earth beneath our feet. Happy gardening!